Welcome to your storytelling. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to subscribe. It started like most love stories do, laughs, long walks, shared dreams. And one of those dreams, kids. She always said, when we're ready, I want 2, maybe 3. I'd smile and imagine us with tiny socks and bedtime stories. We even had a list of baby names. She loved Juniper for a girl. I loved Theo for a boy. We doodled names like teenagers. So when we moved in together, I thought we were stepping toward that dream. A life, a future, a family. But I had no idea she was already living that dream with someone else. Not in the we used to date kind of way, but in a she never told me about her other life kind of way. And it wasn't just an ex. It was still happening. Looking back, there were clues I ignored, little things that didn't quite add up. Missed calls, last-minute changes, odd weekends away. But I trusted her. I loved her. So I never questioned anything. Until I stumbled across the drawing. We were cleaning the closet when I found it. A folded paper stuck in the back of a shoebox. It was a child's drawing. Crayons. Messy hearts. A stick figure family with mommy written at the top. At first, I laughed, thinking maybe her niece made it. I walked into the kitchen, holding it up. "Babe, who drew this?" I asked, expecting a quick explanation. She froze. Froze. Like her brain was buffering. "Oh, just something from work," she mumbled, snatching it from my hand too quickly. Something about the way she shoved it into her purse made me feel weird. She didn't work with kids. She worked in tech support. Still, I brushed it off. I wanted to believe her. But that night, while she was in the shower, I checked her purse. Tucked behind a gum wrapper and some receipts was a school photo of a little boy. And not just any boy, he had her eyes. The photo shook me to my core. That little boy, he had her dimpled smile. I sat there, staring, my heart racing so loud I could barely hear anything else. I flipped the photo. On the back, in neat handwriting, Luca, kindergarten, 2023. Luca. Why had I never heard that name before? When she came out of the shower, I couldn't even pretend to be okay. "Who is Luca?" I asked, photo in hand. She looked like she'd seen a ghost. "Where did you find that?" "In your purse," I said, my voice shaking. "Why is there a photo of a child who looks just like you?" She sat down, rubbed her temples, took a deep breath. "I was going to tell you," she whispered. But I didn't want whispers. I wanted truth. And nothing could have prepared me for what she said next. "He's my son," she said. 3 words. That's all it took to knock the wind out of me. Her son? My mind went blank. I just blinked at her, waiting for her to laugh, to say she was joking. But she didn't. She looked tired. Heavy. Like she'd been carrying this for years. "I had him when I was 19, she said. "It was complicated. I gave custody to his father. I couldn't speak. All those conversations we had about wanting kids, and she never mentioned she had one already? Why didn't you tell me?" I finally asked. "All this time." She looked down. "Because I thought if I did, you'd leave." That hurt more than the secret itself. Because in that moment, I realized she never trusted me with the truth. And the betrayal wasn't just about the child. It was about the life she kept from me. And I wasn't sure if I could stay. I started seeing everything differently. Her late-night texts. The unexplained Saturdays away. The sudden need for alone time. She wasn't just hiding a child. She was still involved. Not romantically with the father, she said, but co-parenting. "Lucas stays with me once a month," she confessed. "Wait, what?" "In a different apartment," she added. "It's easier that way. Less confusing for him." Less confusing? Or less risky for me to find out. I felt like a guest star in someone else's life. She had another home, another identity, another version of herself I never got to meet. And all the while, I was planning a family with her. Imagining our first child. She cried when she told me. Said she loved me. Said she panicked. But love without truth? That's not love. That's theater. And I didn't know if I wanted to keep playing a role in her secret show. After she told me about Luca, everything felt off. I started questioning every little detail. She would leave on weekends, her work trips, but when she returned, there was this new distance between us. She was a great mother to him, I could tell. I saw how she lit up when she talked about him. But it wasn't just about Luca. It was about the part of her life she had kept from me for so long. "I never meant to hurt you," she said. But words seemed too weak for the weight of what I felt. It wasn't just the secret. It was the deception. I asked her, "Why didn't you ever consider sharing this with me before?" She paused, then answered quietly, I didn't think you would understand. And I realized, in that moment, I had never really known her. I didn't know what to do with myself. Should I stay and try to understand her life with Luca? Or was this a sign that everything we'd built was based on lies? The next day, I insisted on meeting him. I had to see this child. I had to understand this part of her that I knew so little about. She was hesitant, but finally agreed. When we walked into her other apartment, I felt like I was intruding on a world I didn't belong to. The walls were covered in child's art. Toy trucks were scattered across the floor. And there, sitting on the couch, was Luca. He looked up at me with curiosity, no fear, no hesitation. He had her smile, her dimples. I swallowed hard. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was her life. And suddenly, I felt like I was a stranger in her own story. After meeting Luca, things didn't feel any clearer. I asked her about the father, wondering how he fit into all of this. He's involved, she said. But it's complicated. We share custody, but we're not together. I couldn't help but wonder if he knew I existed. If he knew about me, this woman he shared a child with. But it wasn't my place to ask. Or was it? I just wanted to be honest with you, she said, as if that would somehow make up for everything. But honesty wasn't the problem. It was the years of lies and omission. I realized I wasn't just navigating her world. I was trying to fit into a reality I wasn't prepared for. And I wasn't sure I could keep doing it. The weeks after meeting Luca were filled with tension. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to say, it's fine. We'll work through this. But every time I saw her interact with him, I felt like an outsider. I wasn't the one who had been there when he first said mama. I wasn't the one who'd been to every doctor's appointment, every school play. It wasn't that I didn't want to be involved. It was that I had no idea how to even begin. And then, one night, she told me she had to leave for a weekend trip to see Luca. I looked at her, and for the first time, I said, I don't know if I can keep doing this. She didn't respond. She just stared at me, tears forming in her eyes. And I knew. She knew. Something in me had cracked. And no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't glue it back together. I didn't want to let go. I loved her. But the woman I loved wasn't the woman I had imagined. She wasn't the woman I had thought I was building a future with. Every time she left for another weekend with Luca, every time I saw him, I felt more and more invisible. I began to withdraw. I stopped making future plans. I stopped asking about her day. It wasn't that I didn't care. It was that I didn't know where I fit into this life she had already built. One evening, as we sat across from each other, I asked her, do you still want the life we talked about? A family? With me? Her answer came slowly, as if she were trying to choose her words carefully. I do, she said, but I need to figure out how to make everything work. I looked at her, and for the first time, I wondered if maybe I wasn't part of her equation anymore. Every day, I waited for her to take the lead, to give me answers, to tell me how we could move forward. But she didn't. Instead, she kept promising that she was figuring it out. That word, figuring, felt like a never-ending loop. It wasn't a solution. It was an excuse. I asked her, do you ever regret not telling me? She hesitated, eyes darting to the floor. Yes, she admitted. Every day. I wanted to scream, to demand more than just the apology in her eyes. But what good was anger when I didn't even know where to stand? She loved Luca, but she also loved me. I could see it in her eyes. But love wasn't enough to bridge the distance between us. The truth had already broken us apart. I decided to take a weekend away, to clear my head, to think about everything. I needed space. I needed to see if I could breathe without her around. She called me several times, but I let it ring. I wasn't ready to talk. I spent the weekend walking through the streets of the city, just observing. People walked hand in hand. Parents smiled at their children. I couldn't stop imagining how she had been living this double life. How could she want a future with me when she already had a past with him? When I finally picked up the phone, she sounded relieved. I miss you, she said. Are you coming back soon? I didn't have an answer. Not yet. I needed to figure out who I was without her, and whether we could still be us. The day I returned, she was sitting on the couch waiting for me. She looked tired, worn down. I don't know if I can keep living like this, I said. Her face dropped. What do you mean? I feel like I'm the second option, I continued. I'm the backup. If this doesn't work, we'll try that. She took a deep breath, then whispered, I never meant for you to feel that way. I don't know how we can fix this, I admitted. You're already raising a child. A whole life is already there. And I'm just here. She stood up. I don't know how to make this work either. But I do love you. I want us to be happy together. But love didn't feel like enough anymore. It felt like a trap, a promise she couldn't keep. And when I asked her, what if this isn't enough? She didn't have an answer. I couldn't live like this. I couldn't keep wondering if she would ever truly choose me. And as much as I loved her, I realized it wasn't just about love. It was about trust, about sharing a life, not a fragment of one. I stood in the living room, feeling my heart break with every passing moment. I think it's time for us to figure this out separately, I said. Her eyes filled with tears. What do you mean? I can't keep living like this. I can't keep waiting for you to choose. I deserve to be someone's priority, too. She didn't try to stop me. She didn't beg me to stay. She just nodded, as if she knew this day would come. It wasn't about Luca. It wasn't about her choice. It was about my need to reclaim myself. And for the first time in a long while, I felt free, but also broken, because letting go felt like losing the best part of myself. The apartment felt empty. The walls, once filled with laughter and shared plans, now seemed too quiet. I went through the motions of packing up my things. Her things. Our things. It was as though our lives had been a dream, an illusion. She called me once, after I left. Can we talk? She asked. But there was nothing left to say. I don't think I can do this anymore, I said. I don't think I'm the one for you. She sighed, and for the first time, I saw her as vulnerable, just a woman, unsure of how to make it all work. I'm sorry, she whispered. But the apology didn't heal the wound. I was still haunted by the image of her holding Luca, that child who should have been ours, but wasn't. In that silence, I realized I couldn't keep fighting for a life that wasn't mine to have. And so I walked away. The days after leaving her were full of uncertainty. I didn't know where to turn, what to feel. I tried to focus on work, to fill the void with anything that could distract me. But nothing seemed to stick. I kept seeing her face everywhere I went, hearing her voice in my head. Was it the right decision? Was I being selfish? I hadn't just walked away from her. I had walked away from a life I had thought would be mine. Every time I saw a mother with her child, I felt a pang of regret. But then I remembered, I couldn't keep pretending. I couldn't keep living a life where I wasn't truly seen. And so, I started the long journey of letting go. But no one tells you how long that process takes. A month had passed since I left her. I was starting to find my rhythm again, starting to enjoy the peace and space. But nothing prepared me for running into her at the grocery store. She was standing by the produce aisle, holding a basket, when our eyes met. For a moment, we just stood there, silent, as if the world had paused. Hi, she said softly, her voice cracking. I couldn't speak at first. Seeing her again, after all that had happened, was like being hit by a wave. I thought you were in a different city this weekend. I finally managed. I was, she replied. But I needed to see you. I needed to know you were okay. I wanted to walk away. I wanted to turn and keep moving forward. But something inside me urged me to stay. We talked about nothing and everything. And as I looked at her, I realized that some part of me would always care. But I knew, deep down, I couldn't return to the life we had before. After the grocery store encounter, I spent the next few days questioning everything. Did I make a mistake? Was it possible to rebuild something that had been shattered? She had wanted Luca in her life. I hadn't understood that before. I hadn't truly accepted that she was already living in a world with someone else. I kept wondering, if I stayed, would I always feel like an outsider in her family? Would I always come second? One evening, as I sat alone in my apartment, I realized something important. I didn't just need to let go of her. I needed to let go of the version of her I had been holding on to. The woman I had loved was never going to be the woman I thought she was. And that was okay. I couldn't keep asking for a future that wasn't mine. And with that realization, I felt the weight lift off my chest. Months had passed, and I thought I had moved on. But then, one afternoon, I received a call from her. She was crying. I need to talk to you, she said. About everything. I agreed to meet. When I saw her, I noticed the exhaustion in her eyes. She had been carrying this burden too. I'm so sorry for everything, she said. For not telling you sooner. For making you feel like you weren't enough. You were always enough, I replied quietly. But we were never the right fit. She nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. I've been trying to make sense of all of it. And I'm realizing that I can't keep holding on to what wasn't there. The words hung in the air between us, heavy with the weight of regret. I hope you find what you're looking for, I said. She smiled sadly. I hope you do too. And in that moment, I knew we had said everything we needed to say. It was time to finally let go. It's been a year since that final conversation. Time has a way of healing wounds, even the ones that run deep. I've learned that some stories aren't meant to last forever. Some love isn't meant to be. But I've also learned that I am worthy of love that is whole, that is real. I've taken time for myself, rebuilt parts of my life I had neglected. I've traveled. I've met new people. And most importantly, I've discovered who I am without the shadow of a past relationship. She and I will always share a history. But that history no longer defines me. And Luca? I think of him often. He'll always be a part of her world. But I've made peace with that. I'm not angry anymore. I don't have regrets. I've learned to walk forward. Alone, but not lonely. It's funny how life moves in unexpected ways. After everything with her, I never thought I would be ready to open up to someone else. But one day, I met someone. Her name was Sarah. We started off as friends, slowly getting to know one another. There were no expectations, no rush. Just two people discovering the comfort of each other's company. I was cautious. I was afraid of repeating the same mistakes. But she didn't push. She didn't rush me. She gave me the space I needed to heal. I remember the first time she asked me what I wanted in life. I want something real, I told her. Something that doesn't leave me questioning everything. She smiled. Then we'll take it slow. But I think you're ready for something good. And for the first time in so long, I allowed myself to believe that maybe, just maybe, I could have something that was truly mine. Months had gone by. Life had settled into a new rhythm. I had learned to balance my own needs with the excitement of building a future with someone else. But then, out of nowhere, she showed up. I was out for a coffee when I saw her across the street, her eyes searching the crowd until they landed on me. Her face went pale. She walked over, her steps slow, almost hesitant. I didn't expect to see you, I said, trying to keep my tone neutral. She stood there for a moment, unsure of how to begin. I've been thinking about you. A lot, actually. Why? I asked, surprised by the suddenness of her appearance. She looked down at her hands. Because I know I made a mistake, and I think I've finally realized what I lost. I didn't respond immediately. Her words stung, but I had already moved on. Sometimes, the hardest lessons come too late, I said softly. She nodded, eyes glistening. I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you. The apology felt hollow, but I didn't let it affect me. I had already healed. And this time, I walked away without looking back. That encounter with her made me realize something important. I had never really let go. Not completely. I had convinced myself that I had moved on, but deep down, I was still holding on to the idea of us. I needed to truly let go of the past if I was ever going to be free. It wasn't easy. There were days when I found myself thinking about what might have been. But then I would remember how far I had come, how much I had grown. I wasn't the person I had been when I was with her. I was stronger, more aware of my worth. Letting go wasn't about erasing the memories. It was about accepting them, learning from them, and allowing myself to move forward without guilt. I was ready for a future that wasn't defined by the past. Sarah and I took our time. We didn't rush. We didn't need to. She had become my confidant, the person I turned to when the world felt overwhelming. We talked about everything, our hopes, our dreams, our fears. She didn't want to be my savior. She just wanted to be by my side, supporting me, sharing in the quiet moments of life. One evening, as we sat together, watching the sunset, she turned to me. I don't know what the future holds, she said softly, but I want to find out with you. For the first time in a long time, I felt the weight of my past lift. I was ready to trust again. I was ready to love without fear. Then let's see where it takes us, I whispered, taking her hand. And in that moment, I realized that love wasn't something to be feared. It was something to be embraced. It's been a year since Sarah and I started building our life together. Every day feels like a new opportunity, a new adventure. We've traveled, laughed, cried, and dreamed together. She's shown me what it means to love without expectation, without hesitation. I've learned that love isn't about perfection. It's about choosing each other every single day, even when life gets messy. And I've realized that the choices I make today are the ones that shape my tomorrow. Choosing to let go of the past, choosing to embrace the present, choosing to love myself, and to love someone who loves me in return. It's not a perfect life, but it's mine. And it's exactly where I'm meant to be. Sometimes, the hardest lessons bring the greatest rewards. And I've never been more grateful for the journey I've walked. Just when I thought my life had finally settled into a peaceful rhythm, I got a call. It was her. The sound of her voice still sent a jolt of electricity through my chest, but this time, it was different. She wasn't calling to apologize or to ask for forgiveness. She was calling to ask for help. "I need to talk to you about something important," she said. "It's about Luca." My heart sank at the mention of his name. The child she had raised with someone else, the child I had never been told about. I had moved on, or so I thought. But the moment she mentioned him, everything came rushing back. "I'll meet you," I said, my voice steady, but I could feel the old emotions beginning to stir. I needed to know the truth. I had to know why I had never been told about him. When we met, she seemed different, more fragile, as if she had been carrying an invisible weight for too long. "I never meant to keep this from you," she said, her voice trembling. "But Luca, he's not just my child. He's his father's too. And when I met you, I thought." "Thought what?" I asked, cutting her off. "That you could just keep that secret from me forever?" Her eyes filled with tears. "No, I didn't think that. I just didn't know how to tell you. I thought it would change everything between us." "It did change everything," I replied. "But not in the way you think. I'm not angry anymore. I've let go. But why did you feel like you had to hide him from me?" She paused, looking down at her hands. "Because I didn't want to lose you. And I was scared." I could see the pain in her eyes, the regret. But I had to accept that she had made her choices. And now, I had to make mine. After that meeting, I felt a sense of finality. I had the answers I needed. I understood why she had done what she had done, even though it didn't make it right. I could never be a part of her life in the way I once imagined. And Luca, as much as I cared for him, wasn't mine to raise. It was hard to come to terms with, but I knew I had to move forward. I hadn't just lost a relationship with her. I had lost the dream of a family that wasn't truly mine. But that didn't mean I had lost everything. I still had myself. I still had the life I was building. And I still had the love I had found with Sarah. The closure I needed wasn't just about answering questions. It was about understanding that some chapters were meant to close, no matter how hard they were to let go of. As I sat with Sarah one evening, reflecting on everything that had happened, I realized just how far I had come. The person I was when I first met her was not the person I had become. I had been broken, unsure, and afraid to trust. But now I was whole. I had learned to let go of the past, to forgive, not just others, but myself. And the most important lesson I had learned was this. I couldn't change the past, but I could shape the future. And that was a gift. With Sarah by my side, I had a future that was full of promise, full of love. We weren't perfect, but we were perfect for each other. And in that moment, I knew that I had made the right choices for myself. I had chosen happiness, peace, and love. As I look ahead now, I see a life full of endless possibilities. I'm no longer bound by the mistakes or regrets of my past. The future is mine to shape. Sarah and I are building something beautiful together. We talk about our dreams, our plans, our hopes. We've taken a trip together, started new projects, and spent quiet nights just being with each other. I'm still me, still the woman who once thought she had lost everything. But I've gained so much more than I ever imagined. And now, as I start this new chapter, I can't help but smile. Because I know that this is only the beginning. The best is yet to come. Thank you for listening to my story until now. If you like the video, please support it by subscribing and liking.